Try again. There we go. Thank you all so much. One of the things we love at ReelAbilities are films where the disability is not the drama, but rather simply includes disability, a person with a disability in an authentic way with the drama. And I think this is a great example of that. To hear a lot more, and I really want to applaud this film for its casting in part, and give another shout out to SAG-AFTRA for being a part of this and co-presenting this film. Let me first bring up the actors of the film. Suanne, please join us. Maya Brattkus, please join us. Thank you so much. And of course, Troy Kotsur. Troy, come on out. Finally, the director of the film, Deborah LeVine. And to moderate, on behalf of SAG-AFTRA, please welcome Maleni Chaitoo. Maleni, thank you.
Need the mic. Yes. Thank you. My goodness. And I'm looking out at the audience, and I can see how touched you are and how emotional this film made you. And here we have our actors here to share this moment with us. I found it very heartwarming and touching. This is about the third time I've seen it. It still gets me. I just love this story so much. I really am just taken by it. And I'm thrilled to see my fellow actor Troy in this film, this marvelous film as well. So I begin with some questions for our panelists. So as the director, I was wondering how you chose to make this film, what it was that inspired you to produce it.
That's a question I have a very long answer for, but I promise to keep it as short as I can, because I want you to be able to have conversation with everybody. But basically, it's about a love for the town, but my love for this town is complicated because it's a town where everybody looks, thinks, and has the same values. And so I was wondering, what's it like if you're different? And so Rose represents different, but she's separating herself. She puts on a mask of makeup. She wears clothes that are essentially like costumes. And she feels very otherly. And ironically, the person who's most comfortable in their skin is the person who is, according to everyone else, the outsider. But he knows what he wants. He knows who he is, and he's not afraid of any challenges. And so Rose is going to make a film that's fantastical. And then, of course, what's fascinating is the youngest person in town, who's just coming into her own, actually makes a film or helps finish the film as a piece of realism. So about otherliness and what happens when you kind of come to terms with maybe not being so different and realizing where your real spirit is, your spirit, your heart.
Thank you. And you wanted to add a comment?
What's great about this movie is the leading role, Rose, I think. And she's similar to you in the audience who are meeting deaf people maybe for the first time. Take a little ride with her and go into a different experience. Meet a person who happens to be deaf, and it gives the audience time to make the connection with this other person, this different person. I think that's what's important about the story. It doesn't really matter if people are disabled or blind or use a wheelchair or deaf or whatever, but sometimes you just look at somebody and you forget that they're disabled. You just think of them as a person. I think that's what's important about the film.
And what led you to set it in the 1950s and not have it be as a modern film?
Yeah, can I say something about that? 1950s. Most of this of you were not born, and I see my interpreter has a little white hair. Maybe he was born at this time, but 1940s, 50s. Remember, World War II had just ended, and people were going to the war and fighting in Germany and in Europe, and what do you do in a little town? Many of the women took over the jobs that men were used to doing, and Rosie the Riveter, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But the point is that when women took these jobs, Rose was in Chicago. Her mother was in this small town and getting sick at that time in the 1950s. Remember, there were no texts, no phones. Communication was slow in that era. You had to drive and see your mother, visit her, take care of her when she was sick with cancer and dying. And the movie is 40 miles. Everything happens within a radius of 40 miles. So you're limited in what you can do in the time that you've got. There's no technology, but there's friends. It's a friendly place. So born in the 1940s and 50s is a different time.
And when you developed the story, how did you determine that there would be a character with a disability as a love interest? What led you to that?
That's easy. Once we decided to make this film, the roles, long story less long, the roles were written for each of these people. It wasn't meant to be a deaf character or a tall character or a large character or any character. It was meant to be a love interest. Happened to think, who's the most charming, dynamic actor I happen to know? Who's a love interest? Oh, Troy. And so, who's the most dynamic young actress I know? Oh, Maya. And who's one of my favorite muses as an actress altogether is Suanne, and Tara being one as well. Everybody in this film are people that I've worked with prior and I hope to work with forever again. Simple.
Now I'd like you to tell me what challenges you faced with casting, not just these lead actors, but anything.
What I greatly enjoyed watching today, I haven't seen the film for a while, and was really learning a lot because I was watching us learn about how to make films as we were going. And it's a mixture of professional actors, SAG actors, and townspeople. A lot of the people on that screen are from Beersford, South Dakota. We're the community. It's a community-made film. Erica, one of our producers, is here. She had to galvanize getting our meals. Sometimes people in the town would bring meals. Someone brought the trailer for us to get out of the 110-degree heat. And a lot of faces, as you probably can guess, many faces were from people in the town. It was a community event. The film is a meta reference to how we made the film and why we made the film, because I'd made a short film there with Tara before, fell in love with this town. It's like a movie set. You go there and people still have these cars from any era you choose. They have these cars and trucks. They have clothes in their closets that are from every era. They have it's like going to the back lot of Universal or MGM or Sony or whomever.
And the women actually brought us casseroles. The women who lived in the town would bring casseroles to where we were staying. Most of the crew was female as well, which was really nice, except for our cinematographer, who was Korean. And yes, I just thought that was hilarious that they actually came with, lots of creamy green beans and, noodle dishes that I couldn't recognize. But anyway.
And as heartwarming as it is to watch it, doing it, filming it, being there was even more heartwarming. There was one scene, and it was the dance scene, and it was inside, small room, over 100-something degrees, and everybody was sweating. And most of the people there were from the town who just wanted to come help. And it was miserable, it was hot, but everyone was, really happy to be there and having a great time. And they provided food for us and met some really, really amazing people.
What a great experience working the process of filmmaking with the townspeople. And now I'd like to open it up to our audience to see if you have any questions for our wonderful, talented people up here.
They're afraid of us.
I talk so loud, I don't need a mic. Hi. So I saw this film serendipitously in LA. Maybe 6 months ago, Troy and Joanne, you were there. It was your invitation, I think. And I loved it. But you know what? Here it is. All this time later, I'm so moved I can't even speak because I didn't get it all the first time, which happens not infrequently. You have to see something twice. There were so many elements. My heart is a deaf heart just by having been in that world, in your world, for 50 years. And I have to say that you, as director, have tapped into so many nuances and such beautiful revealing of the essence of the humanity of the characters in the film that I'm just completely bowled over from having seen it again. Really, I came to be here for Troy, who I adore for 1,000 years already. We knew each other when we were both younger. And the beauty of the love interest, my God, the match was so magical. And I'll turn it over now, but I'm so happy I came for more than the reasons I originally thought. Thanks. Wow.
Hi. First of all, you guys don't know this, but Suanne and Deborah and I are old friends from LA. And Deborah and I haven't seen each other for maybe 30 years. I don't know. Long. Although we're only 29, so I don't know how that happened. Very young. And yeah. And Suanne and I are old friends for 30 years or more. Deborah, this film, like the other person said, it touched me so much, I have to admit, when it first started, I was thinking, oh, the pacing. But then I understood as it got into it. And, it's such an important film that you made, not just for this community, but for everybody to see, And I just want to congratulate all of you. And Suanne, how courageous to be on the film, because you're so beautiful. And to see you on the screen in the way we saw you, was so courageous, and it was really great. And the whole cast was fabulous. So thank you. It's really great to see you guys.
Thank you. Could I be honest about something? Because I know there are other filmmakers and artists here. When I watched it today, I thought, I have a new idea for how to recut the first 15, 20 minutes. I just share that because I know that there are other artists. And so it's been a couple of years since it was edited, and now I'm thinking I have some new ideas. So I'm with you. I agree with you about.
We have time for one last question down here.
Okay. Hello, everyone. First of all, I want to say that I'm on the ReelAbilities Film Selection Committee, and I feel like I saw it on the screen for the first time tonight, just because I think what comes across is this heart, and which I think is the most universal thing about it. But what I think it's also about is about being present. And I think one of the things that's so beautiful about it being from the 1950s is that the two main characters can understand each other as both being other or underestimated in some way. And I just thought you balanced all these really important elements. You know, we can talk about inclusion and the fact that she was the only one willing to learn, and how I think the times have changed, you know, now that ASL is a part of schools and things like that. But I think it's a message that, especially being in New York City and it premiering here, is kind of, you know, even more meaningful because we do live in a world that's so different from South Dakota. And I just want to thank you for giving us a narrative that was so authentic, that gives us something to think about and something that stays with us. You know, and it just happens to be wonderfully diverse, but I just want to thank you that this is the reason that I joined the Film Selection Committee, is for films like this that really sear through every human emotion, and the reason that we're here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
There were no questions, clearly, only compliments. None of them even in the form of a question. But I want to thank you also for being here and for such a fantastic film and for this kind of work. And that's what we want to see more of. And we want Hollywood to make more of these kinds of films. I'm going to give a shout out, first of all, our next film up here, Nathan's Kingdom, which also is an inclusive film and made with authentic casting and telling a fabulous story. And I'm going to give one more shout out just because we're in the mood of the Prairie. I don't know how many of you have seen the new production of Oklahoma, but also an inclusive and diverse production that I think is doing it right. And if you want to know what that means, go see it. So I want to thank you once again. Maleni, I want to thank you for leading this panel.